Welcome back to Get Down to Business, the show about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. We are powered by our good friends at healthplanchicago.com. That is the website for my very dear friend, Tom Arabali. He's an independent agent, helps folks with the Affordable Care Act. His phone number is 630-863-3477, 630-863-3477. I'm super excited for this conversation. I'm joined by Jeffrey Deckman, who is a nationally recognized thought leader and award-winning author on the next evolution of leadership. He just recently published a book. It's called Developing the Conscious Leadership Mindset for the 21st Century, and it's won a lot of awards, far too numerous to name in our very short conversation over here. Jeff Deckman, welcome to the program.
Thank you. I'm really happy to be here and excited to talk about leadership and organizational development.
Absolutely. Conscious leadership mindset, indeed. And as I like to do with all of our guests, I would love to get to know the person behind the microphone. I know that you have certainly had your ups and downs, some personal health challenges, and I know that has certainly formed you into the man that you are today. Do you mind telling our listeners briefly a little bit about yourself?
Not at all. I'm kind of an unlikely entrepreneur. I'm one of those guys that I moved around a lot when I was a kid, so I barely graduated high school, and I got out and I became a lineman and a tower worker, blue-collar worker. Then became an engineer in the cable television industry, which led me to start my first company, which I built that up to about $4.5 million, and it went bankrupt in 1987. So I had a business startup and a business failure. Then I started another company in telecommunications space, and I sold that a week before its 21st birthday. So my background is really right in the trenches of building small to medium-sized businesses, with cash flow and blood, sweat, and tears. So my passion is really in helping small to medium-sized business owners to build their organizations easier than I built mine. So then I decided to become a consultant.
Wow, amazing. That's incredible. And we'll talk about all of those things indeed. Again, chatting with the author of Developing the Conscious Leadership Mindset for the 21st Century, and that is Jeffrey Deckman. And Jeffrey, appreciate you sharing all of that. I know you publish information and content regularly through Forbes, and we'll definitely make sure to link to all of that coming up here shortly. But let's talk about leadership mindset. What does that term? How would you define that for listeners that might be driving on this beautiful weekend and maybe don't know too much about that they have a leadership mindset?
Well, you know, I've gone through several transformations in my life, and I differentiate transformation from change. Change is staying in a kind of in the same area and making tweaks on the side. Transformation is going from one way of being to another. So what I've learned about transformation is there's 3 steps to it, and the first step is you have to have a new mindset. As that applies to leadership, the new mindset for that is we have to shift away from the command and control, top-down, linear thinking mindset that defined the industrial age in the 20th century. And what we need to do is we need to go into what I call an elder consciousness. So instead of running things kind of from our ego and from a mental standpoint, we want to come more from like a tribal elder. And by that, what our focus becomes not command and control, but more being a leader who functions as a communicator, a collaborator, and a facilitator of the collective genius in our teams so that we can mobilize that human capital to increase performance and the profits that come with it. So it's a whole different mindset on how you see yourself as a leader and how you engage your people and how you invite them to engage you. That's the first step. And that the book talks a lot about various steps that you can take that help you to become more self-aware. You know, if I don't know myself well enough, and if I can't lead myself, manage my emotions, my ego, etc., then I really don't have a right to expect other people to let me lead them. So the first step on the path to leadership is an inward one, and so are all the rest. And that's a real core part of the mindset, is you really look at yourself and make sure that you are functioning at the highest level of consciousness you can. It doesn't mean you walk around and hug everybody to death. You know, business is a contact sport, but we really need to shift away from the ego-based leadership and go into more of an elder-type leadership.
Awesome. Fantastic. That's certainly answered a lot of my questions over there, which is interesting. I know your book has already gotten a lot of attention, which is great. We're going to have to squeeze in a break in a little bit, but I'm curious, what can a reader of this fantastic book, Developing the Conscious Leadership Mindset for the 21st Century, what will they walk away with in terms of practical application?
They'll walk away with three specific things. One is they will get a much deeper connection to who they are as a person and a leader. They're also going to get a very unique new viewpoint of what actually drives the organization. It's not the org chart. There are three things behind the org chart that drive performance. And then the last part is they're going to get a lot of tactical things that they can use in the real world environment to lead people on an individual basis. So it's mindset, it's a new mindset, it's a new organizational model, and it's new leadership methods.
Wow, amazing. I can't wait to pick up a copy of the book, and I know all of our listeners will want to do the same, but I know that you also speak very regularly on leadership and organizational performance, and we're going to finish up our show in just a few moments with some of that information. But before we do that, a reminder for all of our listeners that you get on my website, shalomklein.com, or you can go on your favorite podcast app, Apple, Google, Spotify, really doesn't matter, and just search for Get Down to Business. That's where you can be notified when a new episode drops, even if you're traveling outside of the Chicagoland area. We've got content and information that you won't want to miss. And speaking of which, when you get those podcasts, make sure you subscribe, rate, review, and share. It makes it easier for others to find it. But again, we're going to be back on Get Down to Business in just a moment, continuing our conversation with Jeffrey Deckman. We'll be right back. Don't touch that dial. We're back going to Get Down to Business, the show all about small business, jobs, and entrepreneurship. Check out my website, shalomklein.com. I'm rejoined by Jeffrey Deckman, the author of Developing the Conscious Leadership Mindset for the 21st Century, which has won a total of 4 national and international Stevie Awards and is an Amazon bestseller in the occupational and organizational psychology category. He has also won the 2021 International Business Awards Bronze Medal for Innovator of the Year. Jeffrey previously explained a little bit about his background as a serial entrepreneur who has bootstrapped 2 multi-million-dollar companies, several nonprofits, multiple political organizations, and now, since 2005, has been a leadership and organizational performance consultant and leadership coach. We only have a few minutes remaining. But Jeffrey, if you don't mind, a lot of our listeners are entrepreneurs, small business owners, just getting on their journey. What should they know about developing the conscious leadership mindset for the 21st century?
3 things, I'll go through them really quickly, is the first thing is you must tap into your inner elder, as I call it. And that's the wisest part of you that is the one who's really looking at how can they best support people around them instead of telling them what to do. As a leader, we want people to follow our direction more than following our directions. And that requires us to be able to tap in and activate the collective genius of their team. So the first thing is tap into that inner elder, the wisest part of you that we all have with us, and is often drowned out by the ego. The next thing is you absolutely have to tap into the collective genius of your teams. 70% of the people in the workforce are not engaged, yet surveys show from Gallup that 70% want to be engaged. And the more you engage your teams, the better they perform. And the more they perform, the higher your profits. So money doesn't make money, people do. So you focus on the human capital. And the way you activate that collective genius is you invite them into conversations, you invite their questions, you listen to them. And I have an acronym that I use when I want to interrupt people, which is often. And the acronym is WAIT, W-A-I-T, and it stands for Why Am I Talking? So that helps me to engage the team and listen. And the third thing is you really have to pay attention to how your organization is designed. There's a lot of attention paid to leadership training, which is awesome and is needed. But if you train your leadership teams to be agile and to tap into the collective genius, but your organization is not designed to allow for that engagement and communication to occur, it's going to choke out whatever it is you learn from your from your leadership training. So I stress leadership training, organizational development training. leadership training, organizational development training, and focusing on finding your inner elder that knows how to lead with wisdom. So those are the three things: inner elder, activate the collective genius, and make sure your organization is designed so that it doesn't block productivity.
Wow. Well, that's words of wisdom from the subject matter expert himself, Jeffrey Deckman. Jeffrey, I know our listeners are going to want to get in contact with you to get a copy of the book as well as learn more about all your work. I know that you are a member of the Forbes Coaches Council and you regularly publish on Forbes.com. But where can people get in touch with you for your practice and all your amazing work?
It's really easy. Just go to jeffreydeckman.com. And I should tell you that I'm starting a high-level leadership training certification program starting September 13th. And if anybody's interested in finding more about it, it's Jeffrey at jeffreydeckman.com. They can go to my website and look for the M3 process, and it'll explain it. But it's a powerful certification leadership program that's going to last for about 3 months. I'm limiting it only to 8 people per class because it's going to be really high impact. But anybody interested in learning next generation stuff, this is going to be a perfect way to do it.
Well, we should all be interested in that. That's for sure. JeffreyDeckman.com. Thank you so much for coming on with us. And what a fantastic lineup we've had today. We started with Billy Price from Billy Footwear that's been seen on Ghostbusters. We continued in learning about uranium with John Cash. Continuing our conversation, leadership and making impact with Carl Hughes, and certainly wrapped up this conversation, Jeffrey Deckman, and a leadership mindset. That's a wrap for us here on Get Down to Business. Get on my website, shalomklein.com. To success. Let's get down to business.